Good day, viewers. Walter here. It's a dismal, rainy type day, dark mostly, cloudy. Thought I'd take a look around out here at some of the yard work I need to do. The leaves have all fell off the maple trees and the crepe myrtles and some of the other trees. The big oak tree over there still has a lot of leaves, but it always sheds its leaves last. As you can see, it pretty well covered the ground out there, so I'm going to take my mower in the next day or two when the rain lets up and mow the leaves up. But I thought I'd take advantage of this opportunity to do a little bit of a vlog. Today I'm going to do a remake, or let's rephrase it. At the end of this video I'm going to include a remake of an older video that I made back in 2018, one of my Walter stories, called My First Real Gun. Now, I've posted this story twice in years past. First time was in 2011 when I first wrote this story. But it's a true story, and I'm going to share it again because, I could tell the story all over again, but I'm just going to use some excerpts from a previous video. It already has the audio included, and you'll see out here in the yard that it was a summertime type deal. The grass was green, and the garden was, flowers were doing good. But that's what it's all about today. I've been making a lot of thumbnails for my videos, and I've got one of my viewers that's been helping me out quite a bit, making some thumbnails for me, and I really appreciate her help. I just got through creating a thumbnail for this video. I'm using Canva, but I don't like the way Canva is trying to force me to sign up for a money account. So I downloaded portions of the thumbnail today from Canva, and I'm finishing it off, putting all the text and stuff on there with a program called Paint 3D that's on anybody's computer. Paint 3D has a lot of options that I like better than Canva. So that's what that thumbnail was made for today. But I'm going to start my little story right here. Thanks for tuning in. This is Pwalpar. Hoping everybody has a great weekend. Hello YouTubers, Walter here. Out in the front yard, going to do a little flower watering and storytelling for you today. Raining on me a little bit, so let's continue this story as I prop my rear end in one of them rocking chairs up there and tell you the rest of my story. The title of my story today is called My First Real Gun. Now, I posted this video back in 2011, this story on a YouTube video back in 2011. The title of my story today is My First Real Gun. This is a story of my first real gun. It begins when I was a small boy in a small South Georgia town called McCray. It's burned into my 64-year-old memory, so today I thought I would share it. In those days it was considered quite proper and almost a necessary part of a boy's education on his way to manhood to arm him with a gun in order to embed him with a love of guns, the art of hunting and self-defense. So as soon as a boy was able to walk, someone bought him a toy six-shooter in a box filled with little explosive caps, giving him free rein to run around the neighborhood pretending to shoot everyone and everything in sight. I'm so familiar with the smell produced by rolled caps that now at the age of 64 years I would still instantly recognize the smell they produced by the exploding and smoking up the area. I might add, this was before television came along and influenced a boy's mind even more with shoot-'em-up western cowboy shows. My parents were divorced, so my brothers and I lived at that time with our mother in a small, poverty-stricken sawmill community, probably because it was near my grandfather's home. He was a lumberman his whole life and contributed greatly to my current love of guns. I recall he always had a gun on him, and he was a crack shot. He could shoot the head off a snake from 50 feet away. And now I realize I was in awe of his shooting skills and what would these days be considered hillbilly ways. I guess today's terms, he would be called a redneck, so I suppose I'd come by my redneck ways naturally. In fact, I think a boy's entire personality for the rest of his life is instilled in him by the age of 11 or 12 years old. His education continues through his entire lifetime, but his personality pretty well formed as a child. But I digress, because this is the story of my first real gun. When I was around the age of 10, my father showed up one day, took me and my brother out shopping. That was something we had never done before, so I still remember it very well. He took us to a store and said, "What would you like?" His younger brother quickly settled on a set of pearl-handled cap pistols and holsters. But I was smart enough to know I would not get a chance like this again anytime soon. My eyes roamed the entire store, taking in all the sights quickly as possible. In less than a moment, I looked at bicycles and a whole assortment of things, quickly analyzing my chances for a big score. But one item in my field of vision stood out, and I honed in on it. I was looking at the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. It seemed to beckon to me, pick me, so I did. What was this marvel that captured a boy's complete attention, you might ask? It was a real gun. I left the store that day the proud owner of a genuine Red Ryder lever-action BB gun. And make no mistake about it either, that was no toy. It was and is a real gun by every definition of the word. And I felt empowered by this gleaming blued metal gun with the wooden stock and the lever that seemed to fit my hand so perfectly. I literally strutted down the street that day, but I did have a rattle to my walk. I had all my pockets stuffed with packets of BBs. I could hardly stand to wait until I could get home and take it into the woods on my first hunting trip. My brother was shooting his cap pistols at every one we passed, but I hardly noticed because I was making plans for adventures into the wilderness with my Red Ryder BB gun.
Now, I mentioned earlier in my story that my parents were divorced and separated. We were living in McCray, Georgia, and my mother met and married this man named George Wright. She, having custody of us, hauled us off to Aiken, South Carolina to live with this guy. Turned out to be a real creep. First thing he managed to do was to take my gun away from me. And I didn't do anything bad with it to have it took away from me. He just wanted it for himself. Speaking of guns, you should be careful with guns at all times. First thing I did with my Red Ryder BB gun was get curious and think, I wonder if that hurts. And I was barefooted and pointed it down to my foot and pulled the trigger. Shot myself right in the foot. Yep, it hurt. It hurt like the dickens. I didn't do that no more. Anyway, we moved off to Aiken, South Carolina. I was in the third grade, I guess. Anyway, he took my gun away from me. I hated him from that day on. There's lots of stories I could tell about that old man, but he worked just like child labor. He worked the snot out of me and my brother. We had to saw and chop wood, do all the farm work around there, and he just used us for cheap labor. He had a workshop out at the back of his property. And he was in there one day doing something. I don't remember what it was, but he had his back turned to me. And my brother was standing there not knowing I was going to do something. But I picked up a chunk of firewood, small log for a fireplace, and threw it through the door at him, thinking, "Take my gun, will you, you son of a gun." I was hoping I'd knock him down with that damn stick, and then it dawned on me, I'm going to be in trouble, so I run before he could turn around. Well, my dummy brother just stood there, looking like, what the hell's going on? He got the whipping. He got blamed for it. I didn't know at the time he was getting the whipping because I was running away. But that's the guy I hated his guts. Never have hated a whole lot of people in my life, but he was one that I did. But I hated him from then on, always wondering where my Red Ryder BB gun was. But I got some small measure of revenge on him, and maybe one of these days I'll go up there and find his grave and spit on it. That's how little regard I had for him. Anyway, that's the story of my first real gun. Make no bones about it, a BB gun is a real gun.